kindness, goodness, okay? Goodness now is actually that kindness in action. It's kindness being mobilized. It's what you are now coming out in what you do. Okay? So kindness is what you're made of. Goodness is more of the visible expression of that kindness, so that that kindness that makes up what you are is now becoming a benefit to others around you, because it's affecting how you relate to them and how you affect them. You see how being a Christian and living the Christian life is not meant to be in isolation and it's just me and God. No, what God is doing inside of you is He is doing something inside of you to make you better, not just independent of everyone else, but for the benefit of other people around you. Okay? Because God designs us to be living in community and in relationships with each other. Well, how do those relationships bring glory to God? When they manifest the fruit of the Spirit. The more this church looks and is characterized by the fruit of the Spirit here, and the less it is characterized by the acts of the sinful nature described right before it, the more glory God is going to get out of this church. Okay? So if we're going to be about programs, and we're going to be about ministries as a church, you know what we ought to be programmed about and ministering towards? It ought to be about the fruit of the Spirit program. And that's one where every single one of us as individuals are committing ourselves to live in step with the Spirit, to bear the fruit of the Spirit in our lives. It's actually, if you're a member, that's one of the things you commit to. It's one of the things you commit to. You don't just commit to join to have the title member and then be able to vote. When you become a member, one of the things you learn in the class, hopefully, and that's explored in the phase of interviewing and so forth, what that is a clear explanation that, listen, as a member, you're committing to this church, and one of the ways you commit is not just with your money, not just with praying, although those things are important, but you're committing to exemplify a fruit-filled, Spirit-led, Christian, Christ-honoring life, because if you do that, then that's going to influence others around you. Listen, we want examples in our lives, whether we admit it or not. We want examples. We want role models in our lives. And one of the things that I've learned because of my own personal experience and my own personal dealings with the guy within is that sometimes I will look for any excuse to indulge a pattern of thinking or behavior when I know that it's not one that glorifies God. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that sometimes I will look, rather than trying to submit my pride and submit this sinful aspect of my life to Christ, what I will look for is to find comfort in that by finding someone else who I may respect, or at least bears the name Christian, who I find does the same thing. And do you see what that does? Is it degenerates. It takes us, in that aspect, it takes us backwards a step or two. Because rather than saying, I'm going to press forward with this issue and lay it before Christ, and lay it down before Christ, and not allow this part of my life to continue anymore, instead what I'm doing is I'm not looking to Christ to be my example to follow. Instead, I'm going to look for a different role model, a Christian who's not living like Christ, that I can somehow validate myself. Does that make sense? This is why we say we commit to living for Christ as individuals when we join the group, because we are going to hold the bar up. Because when I look around, what I want to find in you guys examples of people who are like, man, that was a difficult situation. Man, I got to give him all the applause in the world, because that was a hard decision that he made to honor Christ when I knew clearly he could have made an easy out decision. Do you see that? When we live for Christ, it inspires and strengthens others to do the same.